apparently on this world where you either moisture farm or you are part of a mining guild. It seems like that's
or you're
really...
a Jawa or a Tusken Raider or
Yeah.
a Sarlacc or a Hutt but if you're from off-world and you're not indigenous to this planet, these are your livelihood routes.
I thought it was just a bunch of moisture farmers, but now I didn't realize that the mining guild had any interest and that there would be such crystals, readily available. And
I've never heard of these crystals before. Have you?
No, not these ones.
Nope. They're special.
I don't think they were kyber crystals. I think they were different. They were different type of.
These are not the soul of a lightsaber. I would have picked up on that immediately.
Yeah. I
feel like such a nerd.
I thought you brought up a really good question. And maybe people can leave comments below during this the speeder bike scene. Well, maybe I'm jumping too far forward. How can people talk to each other so readily when they're on different speeder bikes?
Okay, well, and here's what made me ask that question is because the only time I've seen a speeder bike like that, like the one that Mando was on Endor and in Return of the Jedi, and they're shooting all around. The Imperial troops are on these speeder bikes, but then the Jedis grab them and
I have to assume they have comms that are just built into the headsets.
But Cobb, whatever his name is, Cobb Vanth, yeah. He is what looks like the single jet engine unit of a pod racer from Phantom Menace. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And those things aren't quiet. Okay. And so you're on single jet of pod racer and you're on a speeder and you're going fast and they're just looking at each other and just talking like you and I are talking to each other right now, like you're going to hear each other. I'm like, that you can't do that.
Actually,
it asks us to suspend just the physical boundaries of what we know to be like law of physics, whatever I know about those things, to be like, no, of course they could talk to each other because we need this dialogue to happen on the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I guess we missed the scene where he goes in town and you have these classic walk into the bar and you ask the bartender, pretty much in these Western towns, the librarian, the Google search of the local area. And it's just beautiful the way it's laid out. That, do you know of anyone that looks like me? And it's almost like he doesn't understand
there's a pause.
What he's asking.
Do you know anybody that looks like me? And it's like, who is this guy? Slow? Like what's going on with this guy?
Oh yeah, I'm out on the outer rim here. I'm back in Tatooine, and they don't know much about what's
he look like.
Not worldly people, not these outer rim people.
A little colloquial.
Yeah. So I think it's a beautifully told backstory of where they were when the Death Star blew up and the ramifications of what that looks like. And I honestly think that we're going through currently a time where people will point to, this is what I was going through in my personal life and my spiritual life. What were you doing during COVID? This is what happened to me and my family. And this is how our lives were transformed during this time. So it starts to hit home that, there wasn't just people that were for and against the empire. There were these people that were marginalized. There
are other nuances to it.
Yeah.
All right, from an aesthetic value though, coming into the scene, you've got the classic Old West saloon, Star Wars cantina bar. You've got the barkeep. There's one or two people maybe in there. I can't remember if there was anybody else in there. And is there anybody else like me? Oh, you mean the sheriff? Well, it says, is he wearing Mandalorian? And there he is framed as he comes walking in, and you just feel the tension, like we're about to have a shootout.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful. And then the silhouette, the backlighting, well done. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's great. Now, but as he stands there though, and he's wearing the Mandalorian armor, and you look at it, you're like, okay, he looks like a Mandalorian. We've seen other Mandalorians and other cantina scenes in the first season of of the Mandalorian. We've seen them fighting. It's not like it's unique. I mean, it is unique to see Mandalorian, but we've seen other ones. This specific Mandalorian, what's his name? I always forget his name, but this guy's got a name that he's called by in the first season. We could just refer to him by his name at some point when I get that smart again.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Like when he takes off his helmet and everything.
Yeah.
But the other Mandalorians call him by a specific name. But I digress. So I'm looking at this armor and going, that it doesn't seem like it fits him very well. It doesn't seem like it's like he's not wearing his own armor, which for me connects a direct line story-wise to King David and Saul. And Saul, wanting David to go out. David's going to say, "I'm going to go fight Goliath." And like, "Okay, kid, we'll let you be cannon fodder. Put on my armor, though. We'll at least let's say we tried. So just sign this little piece of paper and we'll give that to your parents."
Yeah.
And the armor doesn't fit. He's like, "Let me fight my own armor." I'm looking at this Mandalorian framed in the saloon doors, and I'm going, "That's not his armor. He doesn't fit right. It just feels ill-fitting." Right. And then he sits down at the table, pops off the lid, and puts it down. And there's that close-up.
Yeah.
Are you bringing in a prop right now? Where are you going?
Oh, I was just trying to get my shirt to, like, he's missing like a certain part. Like he's missing like his ammo belts, so there's like this big belly part. And as we've just handed out candy the other night, you start like criticizing. We've seen enough Mandalorians in the last like year. They're like, that don't look right. But like you said, it looks borrowed.
Well, I mean, for all these years since 1978-ish, all we've had is Boba Fett as far as the imagery, and then in the movie, and then the books do a lot of different stuff. But when he takes off, he pops his lid and he puts it down. And if you're a fan at all, and they close in on that helmet on purpose, you're like, well, that is Boba Fett's
exactly helmet. You're like, timeout. It has not been.
He's got a name right there, and it's obvious that this is his helmet. And I was like, oh, we're getting into it now,
Yeah. And
so
then it lead you up to thinking there's going to be a gunfight, and wow, what are they going to do with the last 20 minutes of this episode? Because this is going to end real quick here. You know?
He's going to take his armor. Well, this guy's not a real Mandalorian, so I guess we'll just be on our way.
Yeah.
Which that was the whole purpose, was to go find a Mandalorian. Secondary, though, is to collect Beskar armor and return it to its ancestral owners, right? We picked up that along the way. So now you've got the tensions of both these things. You've got the quest, you've got another Mandalorian, not a Mandalorian, and now what are we going to do about the armor? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where the story kind of takes its shape for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, and I think Cobb Vanth is like, he's doing what he does. He parlayed the crystals that he stole into Boba Fett's old armor from the Jawas. Mm-hmm. Now, once again, he is doing what most people did in youth group. You start out with a penny, and you go bigger and better. And he has done the ultimate
driving back a car.
Yeah, exactly. And he is about ready to parlay this into getting ready this crate dragon that has just run rampant and terrorized this town.
Well, and isn't that kind of where the tension's at? And they're talking, and then all of a sudden it's like there's the shaking that happens, and you kind of wonder, like, what is this? What's happening? Just back a couple minutes here. Din Djarin is his name. Is the Mando's name. Din Djarin. Had to look it up. It was bugging me. So the Krayt Dragon, that's a new monster to me in the Star Wars universe.
Well, I think you have to remember that the Krayt Dragon, if you look back in episode 4, as the droids are on Tatooine and they go by some incredibly large bones.
Oh, yeah.
Those are Krayt Dragons. So that's why it's beautiful that they go back and explore like how big a nuisance this is.
Oh, my goodness, dude.
And when they get to the point where they're saying, no, that's a Sarlacc pit. That's not where a Krayt Dragon lives. That's only a Sarlacc pit if the Krayt Dragon hasn't eaten the Sarlacc. And then you start to realize, okay, you're doubled down that this thing is bigger than anything else we've actually seen on this
right. The wording
planet.
The wording there took me a couple of times of watching it to kind of dial in on it, because I couldn't tell from the emphasis if it was, well, the Krayt Dragon lives there because the Sarlacc's been killed by the Krayt Dragon, or the Sarlacc's been killed by the Tusken Raiders, and then the Krayt Dragon took over the Sarlacc. But then I circled back and I went, no, the Krayt is big enough to take out the Sarlacc and take over his home.
And little do we realize that it can come at you from so many different directions.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Dude, okay. You know what that reminded me of? The Big Bang Theory episode where his name just totally flew out of my head now. What's the nerd?
Sheldon?
Sheldon is in the ball pit and comes out going, bazinga, bazinga. Have you seen that episode?
No, I haven't seen that episode.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
so dude, you gotta. I just
put in the comments below what episode that is, so you can direct me just to that episode.
Steve, I will send it to you because it's funny. It's just, I mean, it's like 39 seconds or something. It's worth watching. But in my head, when the Krayt Dragon comes out at these different places, after the initial battle, and he comes out at the top of the mountain, bazinga. He comes out over here in the sand, bazinga. I was like, oh, this is like the bazinga. It was totally. It was a serious moment where people are dying from acidic belches, and I'm saying bazinga in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was definitely
Sheldon. That was a Big Bang Mandalorian crossover right there. Sorry.
Like that we're drawing things in there.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that he's like, okay, I'm agreeable. I am like the one man A team. I solve problems. I'm on board. Let's go kill this Krayt Dragon. So let's hop on our speeders. Let's have a conversation that doesn't have any feedback. I have worse feedback if my window is cracked just slightly when I'm on speaker and when I'm driving around town. But these two guys, like you said, crystal clear, Dolby.
They had some type of massively advanced noise canceling tech.
Yeah, absolutely. And on their journey, then they're walking down a corridor, many corridors that I've seen Mando be attacked by before.
Or common to Tatooine, and any time you're strolling through, seeking some shade from the sand dunes in the heat of the day.
Hey, let's go into this area where we could be pinned in, by
maybe
directions,
ambushed by Jawas,
and have somebody else have the high ground. It seems like a good, but it's the only path. We must go this way.
Maybe we'll find some droids. We don't know.
Exactly.
And what did they find, Steve?
Well, they found some really vicious looking dog-like creatures.
What are those?
I don't
recognize
know,
them.
But I'll tell you what. I thought it was interesting that Mando, fearless, you could definitely tell which one was a Mandalorian and which one had borrowed Mandalorian armor there. Once again, revealing he's got mad skills that he has not revealed to us.
How did he know that he could speak Tusken to these animals and they would respond? He's like, I got this.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I know. Well, it's like he knows almost on the spot. They're out in a hunting pack, but they're being guided by a handler.
Right. This is the scouting party. Right. These are the puppets, and there's a master someplace. And so I'm gonna speak to the controller here, not the point of the spear that might attack me at any moment.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm super impressed by his masterful handling of the Tusken dialect.
Oh yeah. Oh, his accent. You don't he's not an East Coast or a West. He's not an East Tatooine or a West Coast.
These
Tatooine.
aren't most Isley Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
These are most Pelgo, which is a very remote dialect.
Well, and the other thing I'd like to know in the comments below, it makes me wonder, if what in this day of political correctness, is Tusken Raider, that kind of has a derogatory meaning to it. It makes me wonder if they're offended by that, or if they embody it, or they
just call them Tusken,
or Tusken, or if it just if we're just sand people, okay? Just because we take your stuff and remove it from and pillage your villages,
they're brutal.
You just label us as raiders.
They are brutal. Yeah.
So I don't know. I was just thinking about that. How I can see at a certain time when Tatooine goes and gets overly politically correct, and they've gone through sensitivity training, that they're probably that will be one of the things will be identified.
There's some things here. There's some other observations that I have, but before we go there, here's the scene. Dogs are going to attack. Mando looks at Cobb like, I got this. Walks over. All of a sudden, we hear a
yeah.
And he's petting the vicious creature that could bite him in half if it felt like doing it.
Right.
And then a couple of Tusken Raiders kind of walk out like, we really wondered how you were going to handle this. You've done well for yourself. And then they have a kind of conversation. Almost like Captain Caveman. I don't know if you remember Captain Caveman.
Oh, I love cartoons. Cavey. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's that their sister languages almost. Oh, and all of a sudden it's like, Cobb Vanth is like, what's happening? He's like, oh yeah, they want to kill the dragon too, so we're all besties now.
Yeah, we're all besties until Cobb is sitting at the fire pit and has to partake of the local fumage. I'm not sure what came out of there, but we're getting his heart and soul's like, I want to be the hero for my city, but I don't want to drink this, and don't we?
There was some implicit bias that was raging from this scene for me just a little bit. There's some baggage. Like the Sand People have done some stuff, and the mining people, the townspeople have done some stuff.
Yep.
And Vanth as their sheriff has kind of been in the middle of that retaliation. He's like, these people are enemies, they're not friends, and so he's not there yet on the we're all going to take down the crate dragon together type thing. He would rather just like eliminate an enemy now, take care of this, and then move on to the real problem.
Right. He doesn't see them as a resource. He sees them as an obstacle to the eventual goal instead of
subhuman in a way. And that is the undertone you get from Star Wars all the way through. I mean, from A New Hope, from episode 4, we learn that the Tusken have gone in and have killed Luke's only family. And that's what kind of propels him on his quest. If I'm recalling that correctly. I mean, I know that's going a ways back, but
didn't they try to make it look like the Tusken Raiders?
Oh, but it was actually the Empire. That's
because they were in lines. That nobody walks that organized Sand People.
Yeah, that's right.
Like Obi-Wan, because
so the scholar Steve.
There's been like the Sand People, as I'd like to refer to them until we figure out like what is correct and not derogatory, have been like thrown under the bus for many things for many years on Tatooine.
Okay, here's the big surprise that I feel like Mando pulls out of the hat for me, and I really respect this, is he has an appreciation for local cultural tradition and practices and language and ways. And even the drinking of whatever was in that kind of fumey, gross, like fart bomb looking drink thing, because it had to smell bad and it looked like it smelled bad and it was rotten, whatever it was, and then drink it. He's just like, just drink it. Like we're trying. This is I'm asking very little of you,
right,
Cobb Vanth. Just drink the putrid egg thing, okay?
Which I think is interesting because we now see him being the bridge builder, the peacemaker, the negotiator, where he was not like he was in Cobb Vanth's same shoes a previous season when he felt like he was wronged by the Jawas. And what I think is beautiful is we're starting to see growth, that like he's now a bridge builder and he's a peacemaker and trying to help others understand their naivete.
I almost sing a worship song like right now about bridge makers and peacemaker and bridge builder, and yes, that is what you are. So in the first season of Mando, does he interact with the Sand People? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I believe if you go back and watch the recap from season 1, they specifically put in the highlight reel of him interacting with Sand People. And I was like, that's weird. I don't particularly remember that. But now it makes sense as the episode plays out.
Well, it had to be someplace in there with the Jawas or with Quill. Because was Quill on Tatooine? Was that on Tatooine when we saw him with the blurks or blarps or whatever those things were?
I don't know if that was. It may have been. I don't know if it was on Tatooine. No, it had to be because that's why he knows the gal at Mos Eisley spaceport. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is where he first acquires Baby Yoda Pod Yoda. In the first episode, again, spoiler alerts. If you haven't watched episodes and you're watching this, what's wrong with you? Like, you should really start there and decide if you even need this in your life. We obviously do.
Yeah.